Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Myst IV. Let's resume. So I forgot the name of this age. We're in what is effectively the end game age prematurely, and that seems to be the desire of the way this game is trying to lead you, is that you were supposed to prematurely come to this way, find that Isha has been kidnapped somewhere, and either one or both of her brothers are trying to either steal her memories or steal her powers or do something to her nefarious. We got a ton of cutscenes, certainly in this whole region, and a few puzzles, but I don't know if I can really solve all the puzzles now, or even half of them.
Remember, Agnar, we have to be discreet about this. The protectors rarely come this way anymore, but if anyone sees us bringing materials inside...
Give me some credit. I was already planning on working at night. After the protectors have gone home.
So we definitely see memories of the brothers working together, but the question is one of them actually acting as a double agent? Or are they both evil? Again. Which would be somewhat redundant to the first Myst game. In a funny way, that might be the entire Myst sequels in a nutshell. While Riven, for the most part, does tend to go in a different direction, add new characters that aren't really shown in the first game, and have a clear bad guy. There's really no hint at all that Catherine was going to be the surprise bad guy in Riven. So obviously the father of the father, Atris's father, or father-in-law, I'm not even sure. I wonder if you're supposed to knock a certain number of times to open this door, or if this door is just straight up locked. And that there might be some other sneaky way to get into this plant building. We have a indication that there's a secret journal in, I think, Haven, inside either a tree or a column. I can't remember what was really said. Where two rivers cross. And that probably is the main key of that entire age. So we probably should go back and get it. And that might even trigger new cutscenes in this area. Hmm. So this is a diving bell that they use to collect the memory globes. But apparently the protectors, the all-female protectors of this world, either forgot that this diving bell existed, didn't know it existed, or because they're upset that one of the brothers, Akinar, I believe, destroyed the other diving bell. It's so dark, though. It doesn't seem like there's a way to just by default get in there, so there must be more to this. Yeah. It's kind of funny that even at this point in Myst IV, you still have a somewhat disconnect between whether or not you're locked into a puzzle and whether that puzzle will reset when you walk away from that puzzle. It would make a lot of sense if there were just weight-bearing, like weight-bearing platforms you stood on that would reset most puzzles, and you would hear a iconic clang of a weight-bearing platform. Oh, I may very well just need someone to manually run the controls here. I may have to be at a different point in the story where that makes sense. There was water in the vessel before. We put the water out. I would have to assume we're either trying to displace water or we're possibly supposed to be fishing with it. You can hear it filling up with water. And we can close it again. Then we can raise it up. And we go through that whole process and see if that actually did anything. I don't feel like it did. And there's no way higher up or anything like that. No memories here. Our necklace is not helping us. This is also, again, a place where two rivers seem to be meeting. If we lower it with the door open, and then close it, and then raise it up. Unless there's a case I'm supposed to be bringing some kind of fish or water spirit upward, I don't think there's a real solution here. There's too few controls. Yeah, I would say there's just too few controls for this to really be a puzzle that just controls around that. There's got to be another switch or another trick to it. Yeah. So it feels like we've once again found kind of a dead end. And I think I probably have seen everything there is to see on this island. I thought that before, however, and then I started going a different direction, and that led me to a different area. Specifically this bridge, which is still up. I'm trying to see if I can use this bridge with it being up to go somewhere else. It's interesting how the background music often makes this like sound like a horn is going off, but I don't think it really means anything. I don't think it really is that you've moved the story forward or that you should run to some kind of meeting place. Might mean that. I just don't know. Ah, here is a protector.
There you are.
Interesting. She was calling. So you blow down it to make a sound? Maybe?
My sisters say you are a friend. But if that is true, why does everything fall apart when you are here?
You can say the same.
Someone diverted the water course and took it out of the road chamber. You are a stranger here. You cannot begin to imagine the threat this poses to my people. The memory chamber needs that stone to survive. It nourishes her, keeps her strong and healthy, so she can collect our memories after we die. Without it, we may never see our loved ones again. I must alert the village. There are more stones in the Southern Hills, but it takes time to find them. If you truly are a friend, you will go to the Hall of Spirits and alert my sisters. Although, if they're still traveling in dream, they may already know.
So at some point they made a prop so her hand could actually wrap around it. Interesting. It's odd that the entirety of the story, ooh, that might be a sewer entrance too, but it may not, really does seem to occur on this age, and the two prison ages just have no narrative to them at all. Let's just see if there's a switch on the face of any of these. So the crazy brother took the life stone. The smooth talking brother blew up the diving pod. We could go back and see if there's anything to this.
In Serenia, the memory chamber stores our memories so that future generations can still visit us and dream. Empty globes for storing our memories are formed underwater, and we gather them using the harvester. So if I'm unable to fix it, I must see how bad the damage is. Oh, I was supposed to tell you, a few of my sisters have gathered in the Hall of Spirits to dream.
This is just the same cutscene we've already seen, but that was a new glowing spot. So it almost feels like the game wants you to see cutscenes twice just to waste time. It feels like that's the case. I think I turned off the water flow from going this direction.
This is so not good. I'm not sure how we'll be able to repair it.
This is new.
Maybe? There's an older harvester near the memory chamber my ancestor used many years ago. We had to abandon that chamber because it was getting old. The pollens inside the chamber can get deadly when that happens. Maybe we could take parts and use them to fix this one.
Just walk off the screen, why don't you? Is she just looking around, or are we still in a cutscene? Interesting. Where'd she go? Seems like she just disappeared. There might be some hint as far as these wheels as to settings, but not really seeing it. So this is a giant plant building, and the other plant buildings that are old and die, I think I get the idea now. So that other building that we couldn't enter was the old memory chamber, and I would suspect that's where Yisha is. I don't think I can just lay down here and dream and enter the dreaming with the protectors to talk to them, though. I feel like this may very well be the end of the game, where you'll just lie down here and some pollen will fall down and you'll start seeing somebody's memories. This really is an odd experiment. The programming the technology to turn your head left and right while you're laying down maybe is used a dozen times in video games since it was programmed here, and probably was reprogrammed a dozen times from scratch. Very rarely would you need that, particularly for that to be in the game engine, when you could simply just have a cutscene of somebody falling down or laying down and turning their head left and right. So we didn't tell that girl that the life stone had been taken. And I suppose it needed to be taken to prevent the smooth-talking brother from pulling off his crimes, his criminal plan, which... If the plan is to kill the father, it may have very little to do with Yisha, actually, and she may just be the bait. If you could kill Atris and take his memories, notice their hands are now not crossed, and there is a tarp here.
Do not be afraid. My
We missed
sisters
the
and I can speak
masks
with you
going
now.
away.
Anya told us you needed help. So while you were exploring this physical manifestation of Serenia, we decided to travel her mirror realm. A world in which our ancestors have great power, and which we call Dream. We asked the ancestors to show us what happened to Yisha, but the things they revealed did not make any sense. We think it's because the message is intended for you. This disturbed us, for it means you must travel to Dream, something which you must never do, without a spirit guide.
It's funny how the background's
Normally,
changing there.
finding the guide best suited to your true nature takes time. But we have decided to help by examining the weave of your past actions.
And so this is the
Place your hand on the cloth.
different ending on the games
It will allow us to know
that changes
which
your spirit guide.
you must seek.
But I think they're all actively the exact same, and almost certainly you are going to end up just getting fire. We missed the animation again. I see fire, I see water, and I see bubbles in the water. And so each of those could be it. We'll touch it and see what the game thinks I've done the most of, as far as what have I clicked on the most of. Air. Odd. Maybe that just means I have actively played with bubbles a lot in Serenia, or I have just randomly tapped in the air way more than anything else. It's funny how the mask just disappears.
A child of water, or so the weave shows.
Oh,
you
water.
Appreciate the beauty and richness of life around you. You are confident in your ability to succeed, but willing to seek help when answers seem elusive. You must seek a water guide to accompany you. Go to the stone forest and seek him in the pools he likes to inhabit. The mark you now bear in you will gain his attention. Be carrying the offering that most pleases his senses, and he should agree to accompany you in dream. There is only one such offering. Once you have succeeded, proceed to the memory chamber. Zanika will be waiting for you there. This cloth is now yours to keep. Do with it as you will.
So we're a child of the water. Yisha was a child of the water too. We don't know what water spirits really like, though. It is so crazy for the mask just to appear. That doesn't feel like a mechanical thing. It just feels like a magical thing. It would make more sense if the masks were attached to the wall and they opened up and closed when they sat down. Right. So now we're back to the reality of the world. And we can look at the cloth. Which... Either they have put that picture and that cloth at the very beginning, or okay, it's down here. Pretty easy to miss. So this is potentially where the waters are flowing now, instead of later or earlier. Or this might be the offering in a complete setting, as far as what we're supposed to set up. And this is supposed to be the island from a top-down perspective, but it's pretty difficult to see that is this the memory chamber and this the old memory chamber? Or is this the building we're in and this the old, the current memory chamber and this the old memory chamber? Or is it all backwards and confused? It seems odd that that also is its own little separate thing, but then it's not here on the map. There's room here, certainly, at least at the higher resolutions. Maybe there isn't so much room otherwise. Once you get into this world, though, once you get into this final age, it does seem like the game wants to keep you in this final age. So if these are water spirits, or this is probably, I suspect, what the water spirit's like. So you probably need to carry let's see, you probably need to catch one, and then you probably would need to find where the water spirit is and try to get there before the bubble bursts. Which inherently that just means you need to know where to go. And then I guess you were supposed to get a drip, and that's what the fire spirit would have liked. No telling what the air spirit would have wanted. And that would have been an air spirit. I really don't want to engage further with this, though. I would prefer... See, there's a water spirit, or there would have been a water spirit there, but he didn't show up. It does just create this poor balance where it would have been probably better if you had locked yourself into, or been locked into, the this final world. Just move very slowly. Oops. Alright, well, let's just experiment with this. Just fast. That is a fast travel. So we know that we can get back and we can leave. We know we need to be extremely cautious and slow, and a faster computer with faster mice are going to make that difficult. Okay. So I needed to have gone one more step. So it's like 5 clicks that you have to go. I think you have to be fairly cautious here. Like, your natural instinct with any mouse game, though, would be to move fast and click around. Yeah, we'll just play with that later. I'm tired of this age. Unfortunately, Myst games are not really designed in such a way that you can just get tired of an age and jump to a different age that much. You can do it a little bit, and certainly a lot of people are just going to end up jumping around to different locations. But that seems to be not really the desire of the game. The desire of the game really wanted me to. Interesting. This is the Myst III Exile house. Which I thought they just abandoned that age, but maybe it's the same place. This is definitely from Myst III Exile, with Isha as a baby, and Catherine the mother. Which arguably this may mean that I might actually be somewhat trapped in a different area. What's funny about this, though, is that this building design and such doesn't actually look like the rest of Tamana. So they're just doing a remember berry here, I suppose, and saying, remember the previous game? Let's have this read to us. I do love that this reads to you. There's never really been that much writing or books in Myst games. Uru probably has the most writing by far, but you could definitely read it all if you wanted to. Just a lot of people
First time
won't.
I placed my hand on Serenia's linking panel, I remember thinking, this age will be unlike any I've journeyed to so far. And it was. The sky was crisp and clear. The rivers and waterfalls sparkled like diamonds. Even the worn paths threading through the canopies of stone took my breath away. I met a group of women who told me they had been expecting me, and as we talked late into the evening, they did seem to know a lot about me. Yet the more they explained why, the more impossible this story seemed. Of course, Catherine's ages have always struck me as impossible. Why should this one have been different? One of the stories the Protectors told me.
So this is an age that Catherine wrote, and Catherine, I think it is Catherine that's actually an original Dunee descendant, and so she has like better ways of either writing descriptive books or creating
First time I
ages.
placed my hand. that is what they called themselves, moves me to this day. Many lifetimes ago, a child from the village contracted a fever and died. His parents, who had loved him very much, decided to bury him under a waterfall and built a balloon to take him there. The parents' grief was so strong, however, that when they landed their balloon, they could only carry the child a short way. So they set him down beside a giant flower and slept. All night, the mother's tears never stopped flowing. Eventually, they sank through the ground and bathed the flower's roots. Moved by the tears, the flower told the parents to carry their child into her epistle. She would preserve his memories so they could visit him whenever they wished. Then the flower passed one of the tears back through her roots, turning it into a container to hold memories, and the father dove underwater to collect it. And that is how the memory chamber first displayed her power to the Serenians. Having read Catherine's descriptive book, I realized that the plant the protectors called the memory chamber is but the fruiting body of a massive fungus. Like any fungus, it recycles dead organic material into nutrients. In this case, filled memory globes. Since Yisha has recently asked to see Serenia, I will share this explanation with her, as I did her brothers when they were her age. Yet I cannot help thinking that my scientific understanding of Serenia's pales in comparison to the Protector's simple tale. I had not fully realized how many years
Notice they
passed
skip
since I
over the
visited this age.
dates.
So when I stepped out of the linking cave with Yisha,
And the
I was
dates
pleased
don't
to
make
see only
sense.
a little has changed. A new group of women have replaced the Protectors I knew, but they seemed to be as friendly as the first. Yisha took an immediate liking to the one called Anya. And as we made our plans to spend more time here in the future, I felt confident our relationship with these women would be mutually beneficial. After an absence of several weeks, we returned to Serenia last night. Catherine agreed to accompany us, so we will stay for a week or more. This morning, I took advantage of Catherine's presence to re-explore alone. My route soon took me beyond Serenia's current memory chamber to the old abandoned flower which had served the village centuries ago. The man-made edifice surrounding the chamber looked much the same as I remembered, although the flower itself was in far worse state of decay. I tried opening the door to explore inside, but found it locked. Just as well. 30 years ago, the Protectors told me how the delicate inner heart of the chamber emits a strong fragrance as part of its reproductive cycle. The closer the chamber gets to maturation, the more toxic this gas becomes, forcing the Protectors to find a new flower for their use. No doubt the collected fumes inside the original chamber would have made it impossible for me to survive there very long. Catherine says I should have seen it coming, but this morning, Yisha asked permission to meet Serenia's ancestors. I tried to explain that the place the Protectors called Dream is not real. How can it be? But she insists on finding out for herself. So what am I to do? I suppose it will do no harm to let her try. From what Anya told me, it should take several months for Yisha to learn how to dream. And it has certainly been a while since I've had enough.
You can see how Atreus is a very scientific-minded
free
person,
time to
doesn't
concentrate
believe
on
any of the
Crystal View's
spiritual.
attachment. Keeping my inquisitive daughter occupied may end up being beneficial for us all. I cannot believe how quickly time has flown. Today we attended a ceremony on Serenia's celebrating Yisha's mastery of their customs. I must admit, although my doubts about the dream realm remain, seeing my daughter's pride as she received the Protector's necklace made it all seem worthwhile. Yisha said something strange during our writing lesson today. She thought it was sad that Catherine rarely writes anymore. And asked if we should explain that just because someone dies after visiting an age doesn't mean the age's writer is responsible. I knew immediately she was talking about my grandmother. Yet Catherine and I have never fully described Anna's death, so how she knew this information is a mystery. When I asked, she said her necklace had said something while she was holding Anna's picture. The answer was completely unsatisfactory. Yet I must admit, Yisha had displayed an uncanny knowledge of things she never witnessed, ever since receiving the Protector's gift. I'd like to examine this necklace more closely, but at the moment the situation with Cirrus and Achenar takes precedence. Perhaps after my friend leaves us tomorrow.
And so that journal entry may have been written just the day before the point at which this game started. So Catherine, the mother, created Serenia with a descriptive book. At least that's how it seems like it works. And so all the magic and mysticism we see now seems to have been created with the magic of descriptive books, which makes kind of everything and anything possible, which is cool. Hard to really present well in a game, but cool nonetheless as a concept.
For 20 years, I've harbored a secret. People talk about my sons and the evil things they did.
This is the trailer
Still, I
video
remain
when you
strangely
launched the game.
I do not discuss my own actions that day, or the rage I felt when I burned the 2 linking books that had snared them. Some
So
people believe
it
my
definitely
sons
feels
died
like
in
you
those fires,
were
but the truth
supposed
is,
to
they did not.
only see
You're
this
the only
later
one
in the
I can
game.
confide in, my friend. So I'm asking you to come to Tamana. There are things I must tell you about my sons.
You have no idea who this main character is that you play as. He's just a nameless, faceless character. He or she, take your pick. We have no idea like where the character you play as lives, what they do, if they are from the cleft / earth in the real world. If that was the case, it seems like there would be a level of astonishment that doesn't seem to really exist. Let's see.
Atris, I thought you were going to redesign this room, but it looks just like it did before the fire.
Not just like it did, my love. Look, the table is different.
The fire was the inciting incident in Myst IV. So almost certainly this area was added to the game near the end. It's hard to really tell what these are supposed to be pictures of. But look, they even have the cutscene. And see, here's an example of him grabbing the book and then linking, and then you having to chase after the exile character as new bad guy for that one game and that one game only, because they wrapped up that whole narrative fairly well. There's no book on display here, and I don't think there is. Again, you see plenty of books just around that you can't open. Yeah, I'm still very confused as to whether Atris changes the descriptive book of Tamana to make it to rebuild or change things, or if he actually just rebuilds things. Yep. So that door is now unlocked. And it's just kind of a simple spin, I guess. So we now know what that door goes to. So that's nice and all. We probably won't trigger any cutscene, however. I'm trying to figure out which way is the way to get... It's still nighttime in Tamana. I think it will be nighttime there forever. So I think going that way, you don't really ever need to go that way again. Let's see, so we need to come over here, find this, pull that, and that'll bring the elevator from there back this way. And then we need to go back into the chamber in Haven. Now, while that's happening, can we go in here? Or will it pause the game? I think it will pause the game. If we go back, we've taken a lot of pictures, certainly. Here is the water flow for Yisha, which is different than my hand flow. So maybe I should try and match the two. Or maybe I should have tried to match it at all. This is what I was looking for, though. We have another thing we can look at the crystal chamber. So let's waste some time and do that. It's almost certainly a waste of time. Oops, that was the wrong switch. There needs to be... If Catherine's ages are more spiritual, you definitely would want that if you're going to reboot or remake or even make a sequel to Myst, is to have 2, maybe even 3 different variants on the idea of spiritual. There needs to be a modern technology on top of mechanical steampunk technology. It probably wouldn't hurt to have like a gearpunk aesthetic too, because there's a slight difference between steampunk and gearpunk. It would be hard, certainly, to make different natural ages feel different. And none of that would move towards the idea of like going towards an open world, which is really what any developer would want to do. Alright, let's start with the simplistic part. Red, yellow, purple, dark blue, green. Well, just start with that. And we'll get them completely wrong on the sizes. Alright. Red. Oh, this is a hassle. Yellow. Purple. dark blue, and green. Gotta get that exact tiny little button. So now we're using this as a way to register our, without having to remember everything all at once. Of course, just looking at the walkthrough, I could look at the walkthrough on the cell phone and then look at the solution, but let's just do this legitimately since I don't have the walkthrough page open at this instant. Okay. So yellow is the crown, purple is the wide V, blue is the narrow V, and green is the diamond. Let's see if we can do that. So blue is a narrow V. Is that it? And then yellow was the crown. Alright, let's double check now. Red, yellow, purple, dark blue, green. Let's see. Maybe I'm wrong about the red. What would be funny is if it turned out that where the crystal shows you things is where where the important secret key items are. Yeah. If the red is right, the blue has to be wrong. So we're looking for something that would be a wider split. Okay, we did it. Is there some secret here? Doesn't seem like it. Seems like the crystal viewers are a toy to play with and not an actual puzzle. And effectively just a waste of time. There must be 2 linking books to Tamana. One that most people use and one that goes to Serenia. We're in a weird position here, certainly, because the game is pushing me in a different direction than what I want to do versus what even the walkthrough wants me to do. Clearly, it would be fastest to follow the walkthrough. If there are 3 different spirit guides, and that's really the only difference between the ending, which that may be really the case of it, and it may not really be worth it to play the game multiple times, then there is a slight feeling, however, that if you don't end up being a child of water, you would either be a child of earth like the crazy brother, or a child of fire who's blowing, like the smooth talking brother who's blowing things up. That would all balance out, I suppose. Well, that's definitely not how I would hope it would go, though, because nobody's going to be happy if they're told that they are like the bad brother. This is going to be a nightmare. The move, storyline-wise, is to go back to Haven. The move, gameplay-wise, is to go to Spire for the first time. Each one of these little animations certainly is here to look pretty, but it's also kind of wasting time. I think it's worth mentioning that the first version of Myst is really the version of Myst that nobody is ever going to see again, or most people haven't ever seen in the first place. The first version of Myst was for Apple II computers. I think it was using basically a slideshow software to make the games. It's in no way animated or good looking or high resolution. And yet, what happened is they just continuously remade and updated the first Myst to the point where the best version to play of Myst, whatever the real Myst, Masterpiece Edition is, or Myst Masterpiece Edition, depending on whether or not you want it free roaming in the Unreal Engine, which at the time the Unreal Engine is a, I guess we can use that as a shortcut. Yeah. No, it's not the Unreal Engine at all. No, Real Myst is using Real Macromedia Flash, which is not having anything, I think, to do with Unreal. If anything, maybe the Unreal Engine was a direct competitor to it. Okay. There's a whole storm and trees and columns. What are 2 rivers mean. It almost would make more sense to go back to the shipwreck and try and look at the map that way. See, do you really need a transition here? But yeah, the original Myst game, you would have just clicked somewhere and it would have maybe faded out and faded into the next area. There would have been considerably less audio and visual elements. And see, this was the memory we created when we rode. So we're just looking at the cutscenes again. Yeah, I just kind of don't feel like maybe you can't use this. It does seem like it's a one-way trip. Yeah, it just doesn't feel like there are two rivers that jump to my head that are crossing for a stone statue. He may actually have put it in Spire, which that would make better sense actually, is that if we have to go to Spire to find the book, the journal, instead of Haven. But there really should be a key in both Spire and Haven. There's no way to skip any of these. Myst IV has never gotten a Masterpiece Edition. In fact, Myst IV and Myst V have been not even available for sale for a very long period. Were not available for sale for a very long period of time. And Ubisoft has obviously put no energy into remastering or remaking them. The kind of logical step you would want to go with this is probably to introduce time travel as an element. They never really wanted to do that. They teased it as an idea, certainly, but effectively said it was impossible in previous games. But if you introduce the idea of time travel, then you can ignore the events of Myst IV and Myst V, and if you want, even Myst III, and then you could call your new game Myst III again. Although I think Myst fans would probably hate if you eliminated anything from canon, even the parts that are not the games that are not as good as other games. Here we have the same style of prison. And the same broken gateway. So one of them escaped and freed the other. Although we don't see electricity and crystals in this case. Also, we don't see Yisha being chased, or we have yet to see a memory. We are high up in the sky, which is an interesting thing to do, because we don't see a lot of that. And seemingly we can't interact with this handoff spot. So let's see what this is.
Dad told me you never wanted to learn Donnie when you were little. That's why he never taught you.
I guess I didn't back then. I was having too much fun learning other stuff. I was pretty stupid back then.
Here, maybe you should try learning now. With me.
Really? You'll teach me, Donnie?
Why not? Somebody should.
Almost certainly that's the thing that allowed the smooth talking brother to escape. Sorry, I'm filling a water glass and talking so much. Yisha accidentally taught him Dunny, and because he learned Dunny, then he could potentially make a linking book. Even if he didn't make a linking book or descriptive book, he could potentially read Dunny, so anything secret or encoded in the Dunny language, he could then decode. Like, it's very possible he didn't find rocks and build a bomb as much as he changed the description of the world to add explosive rocks into the walls of the prison. It feels like it would be logical, certainly though, that it would be either incredibly dangerous or impossible to change the descriptive book of a world while people are inside of it. But seemingly that's either never touched upon or it is doable. Like, actually, that may very well be the way that Aknar and Sirius both killed all the people of Channelwood, is that they may very well have caused them to be killed by changing the descriptions of the book. I kind of feel like they probably treated them like little toy soldiers and sent them off to war by changing the descriptive book. It is crazy to say that this is supposed to be a world that has never had any inhabitants. Like, the descriptive book to make the stairs so perfectly is apparently how Atreus did it, but then why have an entire like church-like chamber? And so so you'd have to assume this church-like chamber was made by Sirius, and I don't think that's what happened. I think Atreus made it.
Come on. You must have seen it a million times growing up. What was it like? Father was writing. Mother was left of him. Who had the boat? I had the boat. Yes, I had the boat.
So he's doing artistry and recreating things, although it's fairly questionable as to what he would be eating. Like, unlike Haven, this seems to be a dead world unless there's some kind of insects or crawling creatures. I'm still getting those. Either my mouse is messing up, or I think it may be my mouse. I should just change the batteries, come to think of it. But yeah, you get these weird little hitches. So this is high above what we assume is water. High in the sky. Inherently, if you were going to make a new Myst game, it would really need to have much larger areas, but you still couldn't make open world areas. You can make something like The Witness, where it's a giant single island, and that would be where you would start over again, is take the idea of the Myst Island and the other island ages and just make them a lot bigger and more free roaming, but it couldn't just be miles and miles in every direction. It seems like there's some kind of mirror. Boy, that's not giving me a lot of hints. It looks like there would be a dial here you could grab to move things around, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. This is a crystal, not unlike, I think, the crystal chambers to project. He must have climbed down there at some point.
Double passed through both loops. Beautiful knot. Let's just hope the linking book is down there.
Yeah, suffice it to say, both brothers just assumed that there would be a linking book, and there isn't one. They clearly have this desire for these roller coaster effects, which I don't feel like that's particularly Myst-like, to go through a long roller coaster effect and then be tossed in a one-way path. If there was going to be a one-way path, it feels like there more should be just a single door that is very obvious. It's one way and there's no getting back. Definitely do see some level of electronic and mechanical. Clearly neither one of them ever did find the linking books. They'd been destroyed. So, like, he intentionally made this prison planet, and I don't distrust Atris's abilities so much so that he wouldn't successfully destroy linking books if he meant to. It would be slightly interesting if the linking books couldn't be destroyed and they were just at the bottom of the ocean.
Okay, no slip-ups this time. I really do not want to lose another ship. Carbon magnet is on. Docking station conductors are charged and ready. Here goes.
Interesting. So this feels like this might be a very end game puzzle. And it does kind of feel like I should potentially not play with it at all. It would kind of make more sense if there was a... Yeah, I have no idea what this is supposed to be doing. It doesn't feel like you can flip these switches, so you might have to influence this further. Clearly there should be more to this. Like, that's the reset button. There should be more inputs. Probably it's a case that there should be a floating boat, a magnetic levitating boat, and so best case scenario, I guess, is you either power something up one way or the other, and then you leave this area. I think that's the camera is dragging me to see this floating boat up here. Right. So this is the input button. Alright, well, that's a lot. Seems like we may have to do a whole power minigame.
Looks like those circuit lessons you drilled into me in Voltaic have finally paid off, Father. Of course,
I'm not sure we've ever seen
this
Voltaic.
electrical network was 10 times more difficult, seeing how I had to build everything from scratch.
So, one of the sons definitely went more electronic in what he built in the prison planets, and one of them went very much natural. And what's funny is this really just does look like computer circuitry, which does beg an interesting question as to how much of these ages and the magic, seemingly magic that occurs around ages is actually just technology that is unrecognizable. I guess that... Can we get back? Yes, we can. Good to know. It's weird that when you open it, it ends you at the bottom of the ladder instead of the top of the ladder. We definitely hear a lot of chains rattling in the ambient noise.
Impossible. Every scientific principle I know tells me these rocks shouldn't be floating. And yet, somehow, they are. Don't know how you did it, Father. But if you can write it, I can certainly use it.
So apparently there is some level of science that at least Atris thought he had to follow in descriptive books to make stable worlds, and that's kind of what they talk about in Myst III Exile too, is that there is a balance you have to do in descriptive worlds. You can't just say this is a world full of talking monkeys that know all the secrets to the universe. That there seems to be some give and a take you have to do. That certainly would explain why every age ends up being somewhat small, somewhat controlled, somewhat thematically consistent, and puzzle-like. In a lot of ways, every age feels inconsistent with what the real world is like, in that there's just a ridiculous amount of variety. Let's see. So, let's turn this. Let's find the spot you can grab. There's one little peg on this circle. Interesting. So, the white rocks will build up energy, and the green rocks will be pulled towards that energy.
Remarkable. No change to its molecular structure, no buildup of illumination inside. As long as the crystal remains grounded, electricity just passes straight through it. Interesting.
At a certain level, I feel like Myst games probably would be better if they were more episodic and each age was its own separate age. If there wasn't particularly even a narrative reason or challenge that was connected, instead of having, for instance, in this game, having Isha get kidnapped, if you simply had said, Episode 1 of Myst IV includes this age, find this secret journal. When you find the secret journal, you'll get a cutscene and finish the quest for that age. The episode 2 will contain a different age, and it will be a different quest completely. Particularly if you separated it out like that, you could have hired a lot more writers to create and write different worlds. If Cyan had maintained their level of success after Myst 1 and become a Electronic Arts or Ubisoft instead, they definitely would have had the money to hire multiple writers to write multiple narratives to multiple ages, and they could have just been churning out entire concepts of Myst games. Point and click adventures would mean a game like Myst way more than it means a game like Broken Sword, which is a flat 2D animated point and click adventure. I guess if you said 3D point and click adventure or 3D adventure, that might describe Myst, but it could describe a lot of things.
It appears that I have underestimated him. I did not think he could be this devious. He always said Spire was dangerous, but I assumed he meant its people were violent. Violent and potentially xenophobic. The perfect combination with which to orchestrate a coup. But there are no people here. No prosperous civilization for me to rule. I see now how his linking panel fooled me. Congratulations, Father. This hand goes to you.
They definitely are not trying to hide it, that he's the bad guy.
I have established a temporary
probably the bad
near
guy.
the vegetal cavern. The food I brought with me should last a month. After that, I will be forced to grow what I eat. The plants here are neither scrumptious nor overly abundant, but I have tasted several and find the nutrition is there. Turning now to the question of escape. I believe there may yet be a Myst linking book here. The simplest way for Father to have disposed of it would have been to jump off the palace as he touched it. There are other ways, of course, but I cannot ignore this possibility. I must at least attempt to reach the ground. This is fast becoming unacceptable. I have slid down every oddly shaped windpipe in this age, and have yet to see below the second cloud layer. I was fairly certain that at least 3 of the passages would prove successful.
So they are really high up, assuming there is even the ground.
Yet even they dead-ended inside a magnificent sealed cavern full of crystals. The crystals themselves are curious. Something about their inner matrix makes them susceptible to a buildup of negative charges. When I touched one, I received a terrible shock. At the same time, the faint light that had been emanating from the crystal faded, and I heard a very curious hum, which ceased as soon as the crystal's charge was expended. I should like to study these crystals more thoroughly, and will institute a plan to mine the cavern extensively. Last night, I saw lights flickering in some of the other palaces. It occurred to me that I might not be alone. What if this age is like Stone Ship? Father never could explain how Emmett and Branch just appeared there. He said the art was always surprising him. Could it be that the lights I saw flickering were made by other people? What I would give to discover this is true. After all these months of solitude, just to have another person to talk to. About the floating rocks. There is a phosphorescent green mineral running through much of this age which exhibits strong diamagnetic properties. At least that is the most workable hypothesis I have devised that can explain how the rocks I see outside my garden are able to float. This has given me an
So
idea.
the whole spire
If I can
potentially is just
capture one of the
floating
larger boulders,
in the air.
I should be able to turn it into a vessel, and
there
thereby
may be
sail
no
across
ground.
the clouds to the nearest palace.
So you can definitely see how Sirius here is writing less crazy and yet still evil. The art, which they mention, is the art of making linking books and descriptive books. And here you have 2 people being named. I don't know who these people are, Emmett and Branch, but it does kind of highlight that, yes, other people can turn up, and it isn't just all a family affair around the this
Last
one
night,
family,
I saw lights.
although most of it
The
is
most
around this
difficult
family.
obstacle to achieving this will be maintaining the necessary altitude. I have noticed that these rocks float higher than the highest point on that palace. Forcing my ship to float lower than it prefers will take some doing. For the past few weeks, I've been watching storms move through the second cloud layer. They appear as flashes of light inside the strata. The violence of these storms does not reach me in the garden. I encounter no rain, barely feel the wind. I am completely safe here, nestled between layers. I do not know how this is possible.
A lot of
How
these I could
Father
be
created
taking
a
pictures,
world which
but
exhibits so many scientific impossibilities.
no real reason
He never
to.
did explain how to write an age. He never taught Agnar or I the art. I wonder now if I should have insisted. The crystals I mined from the lower cavern are really quite remarkable. There seems to be no limit to the amount of electricity they can store. Unfortunately, this makes working with them difficult. So long as a charged crystal is isolated, the energy inside it remains trapped in its matrix. But the moment the crystal even brushes against a grounded object, stored charge flows out, producing a most amazing song. I should like to capitalize on this singing ability, if only as a pleasant diversion. It might be nice to hear some music in these caverns. Regardless, I believe the crystals can solve my rock ship problem. By affixing them to some of the floating rocks, then casting them back into the clouds, I should be able to harness enough of Spire's natural electricity to fuel an electromagnet. The attractive force of the magnet, combined with the smaller magnetic fields of the lightning conductors, should be able to lower the ship and guide it to the nearest palace. It is definitely worth an attempt. Another storm is brewing as I write this. I can feel the hairs on my arms starting to rise. I'm almost crazed with anticipation, waiting to test the first conductor. My God, is this what Father felt? Every time his hand hovered above the panel of a book he'd just written? Did he feel this much excitement as he stood poised to learn of his theories and works? Why did he never share this with me? If he had, perhaps things could have been different between us.
It would be interesting to go back in time and teach them the art. And maybe that would have caused the kids not to have been so evil.
The ship should not have broken free. The distance between the conductors must be too great. I'm going to have to add more to the system, but if I do, the electromagnetic pull will be too strong and the ship will crash to the floor. So can I counterbalance it? Create a second electromagnet in the roof of the garden. I am going to have to start building again and capture another rock for a ship. This mistake has set me back years. But I am close, so close to reaching the nearest palace, and from there maybe accessing the ground. I only hope the linking book still works.
There's really no reason to believe the linking book wouldn't work if it existed. But yeah, if you were going to make a mystery and it was going to be about going back in time, it certainly would make a lot of sense to have Atreus teach the art to his kids, which instead he kind of hoarded that knowledge and didn't want his kids to know it. He's calling these palaces, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is nothing.
Has to be fake. Has to be. But will getting to it allow me to finally reach the ground? Have to know. Have to get over there.
Yeah. In previous puzzles, we have seen fake walls and fake edges to worlds, so he may very well have gone behind the scenes by flying over there. But I wouldn't be surprised if it really is more of a case that he tried to get over there, spent years trying to get over there to find there was nothing there in the first place. It was just a false hope. Like, most prison worlds aren't designed in such a way that you can't actually escape them.
Your faith in me is truly amazing, Mother. How long before I kill this one?
Catherine is too kind-hearted. Certainly, well, Atreus is too hard-hearted. Just teaching Sirius and Aknar the art wouldn't be the only thing, but if you could take Atreus, who a older Atreus who learned from his previous mistakes, to not be so secretive. Interesting, where I kind of have this walking sound effect when I'm not actually walking. What is this really telling me? But yeah, an older, wiser Atreus going back in time and replacing and raising his two sons raising them to be good people, would then have them learn the art and make their own worlds. At a certain point, even convincing possibly Catherine, the mother, to make more descriptive worlds. And then there could just be a whole bunch of new worlds, a whole bunch of different worlds. Almost every world we visit and see in the Myst games are these purpose-driven worlds around being prison or puzzle worlds. They're not really what you would want to see created. You'd want to see more benevolent gods, as it were, creating worlds to have people and societies in it. And yes, there might be locks and puzzles still, and there should be some of that, but that shouldn't be the only reason a world exists, even if it is, video game logic-wise, the only reason why something exists. I suppose it's... other games are guilty of doing that too, like the different worlds of Super Mario 64 and the paintings. The paintings effectively are just challenge regions. Mario 64 is kind of an interesting comparison because effectively each painting is a Myst linking book. You jump through it much faster and with less fanfare, but nonetheless you end up in a smaller... Is this coming up? Oh. Yeah, you end up in a smaller region, and that smaller region does then give you some challenge. Certainly also highlights where Nintendo stole, or probably didn't steal, that's the wrong phrase. They improved on the idea of going to a region and having to find key items in Mario 64 by giving you a challenge name. So it would be something like the 9 red coins in the plains or in the field, and then you would know you're looking for 9 red coins. Or it would be the star at the top of the hill, and you would know you're going to, at that point, try and collect a star at the top of a hill. And when you think about the 120 stars you collect in Super Mario 64 and the much larger collection of worlds in Mario 64, that makes for a much faster experience than what Myst has to do. Although Mario 64 is going for a cartoon looking experience. And the regions in the different painting realms Okay, so unless there's some way to retract these pieces of metal, I may be stuck. This game does seem to love to give you dead ends. Let's go one this way. Mario 64, though, also has a lot of running and jumping and fighting of creatures. And that does take it in a different realm of gameplay compared to Myst, where Myst is trying to be 100% logical. I might just be kind of trapped. And so there might just be a region in an area that we can't see until later. We may not be able to get back up to the top layer, or we may find that this leads to the top layer and it is just stairs. Yeah, it is a real mistake to have walking on stone sound effects when you're not actually walking. So this is seemingly where he lived. You almost would hope that if you got that water guide, spirit guide, that would maybe make each position where you find water in any world a place where you might be able to find a hint. But I don't think it really works that way. Here we go. Blue crystal test 17, final result verified. No number of lighting conductors needed to power the cable number 1 and definitively disrupt molecular composition. Sample is 3. Still testing to find the 2 remaining increments. Right, so we need to move something to 3. Some blue crystal somewhere. You can see he is not roughing it quite as much as the Haven people. And here you can see them playing chess.
What kind of a move is that? You had me, Father. You totally had me. And now you're leaving your queen wide open? Getting the narrow chess pieces out of you was more of a challenge than this.
So I guess Yisha is supposed to be the queen, left open. I guess the analogy doesn't quite make the most sense. The chess pieces are potentially the material he needed also. So could we do a quick count to see if all the chess pieces are still here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So yeah, it seems like a couple of the pieces may be missing. Yep. So he got Atris to let his guard down. We don't want to slide down that way quite yet. And give him the chess pieces. Here we have different materials, and seems like it just spins. But it doesn't seem to mean anything. Like 1 turn versus multiple turns. Let's see. Can't quite read that word. Something stronger than my other than any other substance will need all the power keyboard can take. Will even that be enough? If distributed, access all 3 to divide the power. Okay. It definitely is an interesting question as to whether you want notes that just tell you the answer to puzzles or whether you don't in a Myst game. a certain level, it might be smart to reward people who explore with the answers and then let the people who want to speed run it or rush it then just try to brute force puzzles without the answers. Most Myst puzzles are close to impossible to solve unless you've explored, or unless you have a walkthrough in front of you. So having the answers out in the open isn't a terrible idea, or partially out in the open. Every partially successful rock that suggests 20 units of power total, no more. Every partial successful rock test suggests 20 units of power total, no more. But in combination, must find ways of dividing 3 accurately across 3 cables. So 60 units of power divided by 3 across 3 cables. Blue crystal. Need to supply keyboard with the total electrical gathered in garden and docking station only to disrupt these samples. See, that's not an actual rock, it's just a drawing of a rock. Which the fact that you can even be slightly questioning whether that's an actual rock or not highlights where even when this game was made, the graphics are just not quite there. Like a modern version of this game, it would be very obvious this was drawn. Strong earthquake-like tremors in lab when 2 of the harmonics linked in musical chart are played. Could I be close to finding usable frequency? Lab, mostly rock. So it seems like there's going to be a music puzzle that is also connected to this electronics puzzle. At a certain level, personally, as somebody who's kind of tone deaf, I don't really want to have to do a whole age around music. Myst 1 definitely had an age that was very much around music, and that was kind of a nightmare.
Commencing rock test number 29. Yes, this should be it. This should be the one.
What's that device? Like electronic sounding devices. Like, there is a lot of magic in the idea, certainly, that you would be able to build anything electronic in a world like this, or that any individual person would be able to build anything electronic at all. It's just not going to happen. You won't get to even vacuum tube technology, really. And you would need factories to build machines with more precision, to build factories to build machines with more precision, and you'd have to make things smaller and smaller to even get down to a reasonable level of circuitry. You wouldn't really even reach like vacuum tube technology without being able to make very clean defect-free glass. You could potentially make some water-based computing devices that were giant gear, like mechanical devices, but it would take a lot of know-how. See, this looks like the chair that Yisha was trapped in. So maybe Yisha is going to be brought back to this chair later on. This is shocking me, so I can't touch it. The numbers here, as far as the divide, seem to be far lower at 16 instead of 60. So I suppose you just look at the bottom number, 110.5, and see if that's the solution. This whole throne is very spider-like. So they wanted you to see his lab before you got to this point. Obviously. So I suspect this is just gonna spider crawl you downward. Nope. Okay. I guess we've got this then. This is locked, and I suspect that this is different stations that we're gonna try and power up. These over here don't seem to do anything. This doesn't seem to do anything. Is this a button? Is there something else? So the chair is just a control panel. Certainly is frustrating to potentially find the puzzle and then have everything just locked on you. And we've seen this in the previous puzzle also. I probably am just gonna have to opt to use a walkthrough if this is the way the game is gonna treat you. Yeah. Because, yeah, this does not work as a concept. This is supposed to be, I guess, the lower chamber where he's just carved out a lot of the crystals. Doesn't seem like there's anywhere else to go or anything else to do. 110 or 100 would be the first input. Can't go over in that direction. So, unless perhaps the elevator here would let you like jump down or something. I'm confused. So we seem to be, yeah, at any point you could, I suppose, just jump anywhere. These don't seem like things you could change, or things you would want to change. The wires may be a guide pointing you in a different direction. And we're not really following his story quite right. Because at one point he's obviously obsessed about getting to the palace and the other floating island. And at another point he gives up at that. He almost certainly gives up at that effort and instead decides to figure out how to make the rocks explode themselves. Right, so that is powered, and that might be what I made a mistake with. And that's powered. Okay. And that may be sending power up that way. It's questionable whether everything can be powered or only a few things can be powered. This seems to be the splitting panel. There seems to be nothing you can do when the power's on. And seems like there's nothing you can do until the power is turned off. Yeah, where would you even have gotten the silicon in the sand and refined it? Okay. Let's check that now. We can see nothing is powered now. Which maybe that's what we needed. What I really want to check though is, can I just go back up here? No. Once you've reached this area, whether you like it or not, you are trapped in Spire. Echoing the feeling certainly of anybody else trapped in Spire. Okay. Again, where would you have gotten the metal to make these ladders? Assuming that they weren't just here from the description book. Well, I guess I could. I guess I just haven't gone straight up. That's the way, I suppose. Interesting. So that's turned on. That's too much. I can't help but suspect that you're never gonna get in the ship at all, and it's just all a red herring around just turning off the circuitry. Alright. Well, we've got something we can play with at least. 1, 2, 3, and it seems like 8. Let's see. So you have this little indicator on the side. And turning that off puts it at a certain level. If we do this, then you can really, the way this can really only goes to the middle, to the right, and then to the left. And that seems right. And that seems like, but it's probably not.
Idiot! You've run these calculations 1,000,000 times. Counterbalance the magnetic forces perfectly, otherwise the ship won't get out of the dock. And you do want to get out of the dock, don't you? After all these years of trying?
Okay, so I may have to just use a walkthrough, or I may be able to pull this off. We'll give it the college try. Now turn on the panel down here and balance it out, but I think that's where we're gonna probably end this recording too. We now need to just pull it down. We probably needed to have pulled it down less. Okay, that locked into a 5. Doesn't feel like it's pulling the ship downward. The way you're inputting things here is very odd, certainly. So we kind of couldn't do 5 unless these numbers mean something different and I'm just too far away from the screen to see it. So it almost seems like going to the left adds the number and going to the middle potentially adds the number, and then going to the right locks in a number. It is a confusing system that you really would only have a system like this if you were limited on input devices. Five. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Interesting. Four plus 2 plus 4 plus that plus that. Like, there's no telling if I'm getting anywhere close towards the number you're supposed to put in. I have a total lack of understanding here. Like, that's all full power. So I would think that that was right. When you see a ship flying, let's see what the circuitry says. Circuitry tells me that all 4 at the top are powered and all 6 at the bottom are powered. And definitely feels like some of these side crystals need to be powered too to get everything going. But yeah, it does feel like there's gates or locks. Some other element to it. Unless we did it and the game is just being cryptic about the fact that we did it. It's funny that the game has put me in this position because it doesn't feel good, certainly, to be trapped in an area and effectively told you have to go and solve this puzzle. You don't have any other choice. This really does just feel like you couldn't get in this ship. It just feels like a rock with no insides. If you were gonna be able to get in the ship, it would seem like it would make more sense that you could get in the ship that way. Just trying to look over here. Let's see. And there's... Doesn't feel like another area. Doesn't feel like you were supposed to possibly get the ship to come this way. This would be a case where the potential notes could be useful. So you see 3 numbers there, which that pretty much tells you that that's not the information. That's talking more about different kinds of rocks. That's not it either. That doesn't feel like that's it either. That doesn't feel like that's it either. Blue crystal test may just be the elevator. Final results verified. Plants don't make any sense. Yeah. We've just got nothing. Nothing at all. No way to get back to the top. And a lack of understanding. We could power that off. And see what that does as far as the ship is concerned. I should have lowered it to its lowest possible position. Which puts it facing down here. I assume if we just turned everything off, it would go back to a neutral position. So we need a stronger pull in this direction. Maybe not. Maybe there's a path back that way. A path that way. Seems odd that there is a spot here to step. Okay. It does just kind of come off as this puzzle is designed to just have you waste time and brute force it. Right. We'll turn this one back on. And you can't really get a good view of this. We'll go 1, and then we'll do nothing and see if that locks in 1, because there might be a timing element to this. Doesn't seem like there's a timing effort to this. So we'll go that way to 3, and that way to lock in. So that should be 2. And that sounds like that might be what we were looking for. Let's see where the ship is. It's not up there. It might be down here. I was gonna try 1, then 2, then 3. Obviously it's not 4. We may have just gotten it. We got it. And so we are now inside this rock. Let's go for a ride. Interesting, it doesn't take control away from you for this vision. Nearly did not make it there. And if anything, reaching this area may just have dashed Akinar's hopes when he realized that, oh, there is no ground, or there is no linking book here. And this may have just given him a different perspective of the world to irritate him even more. Let's see, we are... I guess we came from there and we can't see it so much now. Yep, we came from there. And maybe there's more of a chamber. And maybe there was an attempt even to just fly out further into the nothingness. It would be very dangerous and desperate to just fly in any direction. And there definitely are scenarios where that makes sense, but you better staying close to your home base, or at least seeing where your home base is, or keeping your home base in sight. Anyways, let's make a new save, since it's been over 2 hours. I definitely have a concern, and almost certainly I will just look at the walkthrough before we leave Spire, just to make sure we didn't miss anything. But yeah, Myst IV, like a lot of Myst games, your experience is what you get out of it, as far as just how much time you're going to put into an age and exploring an age. It's very, very possible, in fact far too possible, that you will potentially trigger the events of an end game without actually experiencing what the creators of the game actually wanted you to experience in totality. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.